My name is Lamoreaux, and I'm here to talk about the housing market, which sometimes feels like the stock market, checking the headlines every morning, which of course we don't really recommend you pay that close attention to them because it's all over the place. But let's talk about the housing market, starting with, let's take a look at kind of the first half of 22 was awesome. The last half of 22 definitely had a different outlook. So we're going to get into the numbers and kind of show you what happened, starting with California. So this is a snapshot from January. So January figures over prior January. As you can see, the number of transactions down 45% year over year, but in most part due to the fact that we just don't have the number of inventory. We don't have the listings to sell. The price was $751,000, just down 1.9% year over year, so pretty much flat. The sales transactions, just kind of give you an idea, the level of transactions that we're doing right now is the same as what we were doing in the Great Recession. So, but I'm not saying that to scare you because I do feel like we've already seen buyer activity locally, especially pick up in mid-February, but it's just a lack of supply. Inventory, like I said, very, very tight. It went from 1.2 months of inventory in 2021 December to 2.7 months, and it's still under 3 months. Days on market, it was incredibly low. I mean, 10, 11 days on market for the entire state of California. It's hard to believe. It did peak up at 39 days on market and it's come back down to 24 days. Even 39 days is a normal time period to have a home on the market. In fact, a little low. The median closed sales price, we are a seasonal type of housing industry, both California and locally, so you can see those cycles, but you can see we peaked almost at 900,000 in California, it went down to 672, and it's back up to almost 750,000. Above list price. So, of course, the first half of 2022, we were seeing 70% of the homes selling over list price, considerably over list price, but we still have 32% in California selling above list price, albeit only maybe 2 or 3% above list price. And we often get asked, are foreclosures coming? No. In fact, they're down 89% from 2010, just to put it in perspective from the Great Recession. And then only 0.23, so 0.25% is in the entire nation in foreclosure. So very, very low. In fact, you can see here that mortgage delinquency rates actually went down nationally from 2021 to 2022, down 0.7%. So there is no fear of that. In fact, I mean, we'd welcome any new inventory. Just in California, you can see, of course, the summary of still a very tight inventory. A balanced market is typically 6 months between the buyer and seller to be balanced. So at less than 3 months or hovering at 3 months, it's definitely still low inventory. And again, the sales transactions, they were mostly affected also by luxury homes. They really skyrocketed in the state of California and then really drastically reduced in the last half. So a lot of the transactions, both in our local market and in the state, we saw that happening. But again, affordability, our seasonality over the winter months are all factors in the lower transactions right now. But the good news is, I think, is that you see the pricing has already bounced back from the low of 682. And again, no foreclosure wave coming. So let's get a little more regional. San Bernardino County, as you can see, there's a lot of facts up here, but I just want to point out the median sold price in February is $490. That's not far off of the peak, and which was just above 500,000. So our pricing is stable, and mostly in part to supply and demand. We still have the demand, we just don't have the supply. And I will go quickly through some of these graphs. Like I said, I will supply them all in the interest of time. But you can see the black line decreasing. That's the units listed. Of course, our transaction, the dotted blue line, that's the sales. I mean, you have to have inventory to sell. And then the columns, the blue columns are representing the months of inventory. So you can see it's hovering below 3 months there in the San Bernardino County. Similar to the state. This graph, I wanted to point out that although we did pretty much wipe out a lot of the appreciation that was occurred in 2022, there was still a lot of appreciation and equity that gained over the last few years. So in 2019, if you can see the slide, $345,000. In 2022, ended at median sales price of $500, and currently at $477. So there's still great appreciation, $100,000 in just 4 years. And again, sales price versus number of sales. You can see the black line is the number of transactions coming down, but our pricing is stable. So again, shortage of supply is keeping our pricing stable. And I think it's interesting also the sales to list price, that's our fourth bullet point here, 98%. So we were seeing 100, 102%. In other words, listings were being sold for a higher price than they were actually listed at, but we're still at 98%. So listings are getting sold. And of course, this varies depending on price point, depending on the property, but in general, we're getting list price. Oop, high des, the high desert. So I like this because it shows that our pricing is very stable. We're only 10% off of the peak price of $426,000 last month at $385,000. So it's good news, our pricing is stable, and the spring selling season is just beginning. This represents the number of sales in each category. So you can see the largest bar is between the $400,000 and $500,000 price point, and then the second most sold homes live in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. I know there's a fellow Coldwell Banker realtors in here, and they're not surprised at this, I'm sure. But as you can see, it tapers off dramatically for our luxury homes. And luxury homes are sitting on the market at this point about 120 days. So when you look at days on market in general as well, keep that in mind that it will vary greatly depending on the price point. And this is a snapshot. We only had January. They probably, while I'm speaking, they're uploading the February numbers. But it was 249 homes sold in the high desert region in January, 379. As you heard, I actually did peek and run some numbers before they put this out, but it was 385 last month. And 223 represents the price per square foot that we're sitting at. And then the 100%, we're selling at list price in general. So pretty much, yes, this is what I just said. I did want to point out that we had 5,000 homes on the market back in the Great Recession, 16 months of supply. That is not what we're seeing now. So even though our number of transactions are down, again, it is just due to the tight supply. We just don't have the inventory to sell. And I know you want to hear about each city. So we have Adelanto. This is all, you'll see we're going through the February numbers. 361,000. In February, it was 375 for the entire year of 2022. Number of sales, which is actually down about the same, 47% across the board of the high desert in the total number of sales last year. But again, I'll have all of these available. So Apple Valley, 378 median price. Last year ended median price for the whole year of 405,000. Barstow, 235, down slightly from the year end of 250,000. And Hellendale, 350,000 last month. But you can see there's a trend here with the list to sold ratio, days on markets, all low. Hesperia, 404. And Phelan, 401. I think it's important to show per city. As you can see, it does range. So when we talk about high desert number in general, I think it's not representative of each of the individual markets. But Victorville, the final city here, 406,000. And again, list to sold price ratio staying steady at list price and 46 days on the market. Up, of course, from last year, but everything is looking good, other than the number of sales. So as you can see, of course, that red hot market that we had through the COVID pandemic and through the first half of 2022, it was fueled, of course, by the low interest rates. We had bidding wars. We had low, super, super low inventory. So that, of course, impacted our market. Our home sales were naturally weak seasonally this winter, but also, of course, interest rates had an impact, so for affordability. But we, like I said, started seeing it really pick up mid-February. So it's a great trend that we're tracking at the moment. The pricing and days on market, again, vary greatly by pricing point. So I'd have to have a whole graph on that if you wanted to know exactly in that price range. But the good news is distress sales activity is very, very low. In fact, pretty much all we're seeing are reverse mortgages when they're, if they're coming to foreclosure. So, as promised, here's my QR code, but I will also, we'll be emailing, I think, a lot of the presentations to all of the participants. So, again, my name is Chris Lamoreaux. I'm broker owner of Coldwell Banker Home Source, and proud to be here and supply you with these numbers, but I'm super excited to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Thornburg. Oh, Jason's probably going to introduce instead. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but thank you.
Thank you.